I tried to pay for something and it got rejected. And I called the bank and they're like, well, you're out of funds. Hi, I'm Ari and I'm the product lead at Propelle. So I was born in a French family and we were 3 children. I'm the oldest one. And my first memory of money is just after my 6th birthday when we moved to Germany from my home country, and I didn't really understand why. So I was asking my parents, why are we moving to a country where I have no friends and I don't speak the language? And they didn't say it exactly like that, but what I understood is it is basically because of money. So my dad had to change jobs, and I understood it as in we need to move to Germany because of money. So I became very aware of that, and I have a lot of memories throughout my childhood where I'd be very careful with money, like counting, looking on the menu if things are the cheapest option, if there's something, a better deal we can get. And I'd always try to do the cheapest we can. And I would tell my sisters to always order the cheapest thing as well, because I thought I had to make sure for my parents that we were going to be okay and we would have enough money. But overall, we had a really amazing childhood and we never lacked anything. Like, we had everything we needed. There was just this one event where my dad had an accident, and the medical bills were piling up and he couldn't work for a long time. And I remember my mom saying, we can't go on holiday this year because it's difficult financially at the moment. That was her words. And I took it as my mission again to make sure me and my sisters were going to help. So I was worried we'd have to move to another country if we didn't have enough money. So we'd be counting up everything, and when we went to the supermarket, we'd look at what mom was buying and say, like, are you sure you want this? Like, this is cheaper. And it's really funny because we were kids, like we were 10, but we understood that money was like a really big thing, and that if it wasn't there, we'd be in a bad situation. So I think the awareness of money being a thing has been there since really early on. When I was 14, I went to New Zealand for 6 months. I did something like an Erasmus, but not kids, but before you graduate. So I was 14, and that was in 2010. So like the payments industry and the banks were very different to today. And when I arrived there, I couldn't just use my parents' card or bring money in my suitcase. Like, that wasn't an option. So I had to go to the bank, get a bank account, and then get my parents to deposit a monthly allowance so I could pay for things at school, get a uniform, go to the movies, just things you'd be doing there. And so because I had been counting for years already, I kind of knew what to do. So I think I did a good job. I did know when the money was coming in on a monthly basis, and I made sure to not use more than what was on the bank account between those 2 dates. There was a little hiccup where one month I tried to pay for something and it got rejected. And I called the bank and they're like, well, you're out of funds. So I had to call my parents and be like, Mom, Dad, we're 10 days before the next payday, but I've spent it all. So they were really nice. I'm really lucky that they helped me. But I realized if that was what I called real life, I wouldn't have anything. Like, no one's gonna come and help me. And I think that experience really prepared me for student years, because that's the first time you have your own money, and a lot of people do things with it and they don't plan. But I knew, like, it has to last from 1 month to the other, to the next. And that made me very aware of it. So I did good as a student. I did very well. I calculated every penny. Like, I knew exactly how much I could spend every week on this, on that, on going out, on food, on petrol. And I didn't go beyond that, so I had no issues. But I started wanting more. And so I had time, I was a student, I got a bit creative. I started giving some tutoring classes to get some money, and I was scaling it by adding more students to the same class but making them pay the full price so I could make a bit more. It was the beginning of e-commerce, and a lot of items started to be very trending. And then I found those items. I'd go to the stores where they were not out of stock yet, but they were already on the website. And I bought a lot of them, and then I put them on Facebook Marketplace or on Vinted and sold them for more because they ran out, so people were willing to pay more for them. And a lot of those little things to make money on the side. I knew I wasn't gonna, I didn't want to trade my time for money as a student, and I wanted to find other ways to generate income. And so I also started writing business plans for opening a restaurant and a makeup line, which never happened because when I got to this section of costs, it was way beyond anything I could afford. But I think the mindset of wanting to create something, the entrepreneurial mindset, kind of started there. It's the idea of I've got to find a way to generate income in a more creative way, because I'm not made to sit at a corporate desk all day. So my first job after uni, I came to London because that's where startup life was, and I really wanted to be part of creating something. It turned out to be a really amazing opportunity because 5 years later, the company went public on the London Stock Exchange, and that was just really incredible to see the entire journey from the beginning to being a public company. But the other thing that happened at the same time is that all of a sudden all those options that employees had in the company became equity, and so we had options in we had shares in a real company, and a lot of people took that money out and did things like holidays or buying a house or a car, but I think this is going to go further, and I put a bet. I thought this is going to grow, so I put even more money in. So I bought my own shares into the company, and that's the first time I realized I think I may be investing, which, looking back, I find it really funny because I had already been investing for much longer, if you think about it, by dedicating my time to startups, by building a side business, by having ISAs. And I already had invested in 2 other startups, but really small amounts, so I thought that doesn't count. But looking back, this really is my investing journey. I've just started in the less traditional ways, so I didn't go and trade Apple shares like a lot of my friends were doing. So I considered them investors, but not myself. And I think this lack of representation of what investing can be, it can come in a lot of different forms and shapes, is what was missing for me to consider myself one. So it took that investment in that company for me to realize, I think I'm investing. I don't think I asked a specific person. I think I was just listening around, like different voices. It's hard to trust a single one, I always find. If one person says something, I'm not sure if it's just their opinion. So I started listening to a lot of different people on the internet, from friends. But I do think I was missing information at the time. It did feel like the information was very much focused on the more traditional way of investing, and I missed that whole bit about startups and side hustles and alternative ways to make money beyond the stock market. So I did find there was not much to learn from. I think if I had known that I was investing, I would probably have invested more. I just didn't realize I was doing it. I didn't realize I was in a position that I could do it. So I think being conscious and aware, I would probably have taken it a bit further and started earlier, because it is a lot of fun. beyond the aspect of making money, it's really fun to just be part of creating something, of generating more value in something. So for me, it's startups and businesses, and I really like that, and I would have started earlier if I had known.